Welcome to History Headlines, a series for IHSHG that offers a roundup each month of major history-related news stories so you can stay informed with what's going on in the historical world. In this episode, we'll cover hidden archaeological treasures revealed in August's heatwaves, the return of the Benin bronzes to Nigeria, an enormous historical museum opening in Hong Kong, and the National Geographic Museum celebrating the 100th anniversary of Tutankhamun's tomb's discovery. If you enjoyed today's content and haven't already, please do consider liking and subscribing, as well as checking out our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Spotify for more historical content in English and Portuguese. Our first story looks at a number of unexpected finds that appeared due to the heat waves and lower water levels across Europe this past month. The exceptionally hot summer this year is something I'm sure we've all felt, and one curious side effect of the unusually warm weather is that it has revealed a number of interesting archaeological finds that would otherwise be hidden. Lower levels of the Tiber in Rome have revealed what remains of an ancient bridge built by Emperor Nero in 50 CE, under the Vittorio Emanuele II bridge in the city. And in Spain, a structure known as Spain's Stonehenge has emerged in the Valdecanos Reservoir in Cáceres, believed to date back to 5000 BCE. Stones only discovered in 1926 and have been visible only 4 times up until now. Even an entire ghost village, the former settlement of Aceredo, has resurfaced in Galicia, near the border with Portugal. In the UK too, treasures have been discovered, such as a ruined church in Derbyshire and the remains of old trees in Colliford Lake in Cornwall. Perhaps the most striking discovery, however, has been the ruins of a 17th century garden in Lydiard Park stately home in Swindon, where dry grass has revealed the impressions of the old garden and what used to be arranged there. If records are to be believed, it would have been an impressive aristocratic garden space, with a number of sculpted trees and hedges, flower beds, and artificial streams. The Friends of Lydiard Park have said that they are delighted to further explore the site's history, with Chair Sarah Finch Crisp saying it has exceeded all our expectations. There is now clear evidence of an ornamental garden being there, which shows a 260-acre area of formal topiary gardens, including a canal. That being said, some of these finds have been less pleasant. Along the River Elbe in Germany and the Czech Republic, there have been found hunger stones from the 16th century that, rather chillingly, warn that times of scarcity and hardship are coming when the stones are exposed from the water. One stone carved in 1616 even says, "If you see me, cry." Lower levels in the Danube in Serbia have also revealed the sunken remains of Second World War ships, some of which still have live explosives as cargo. One vessel, part of a former Nazi fleet sunk in 1944, has been found near the town of Prahovo. Similar finds have been made in the Po in Italy, such as a 1943 armaments barge and a large bomb, requiring the village of Mantua to be evacuated whilst it was removed and destroyed. These less pleasant items are, to my mind, a somber reminder that, while some of these finds are fascinating to see, they are nevertheless born from environmental problems caused by climate change and drought that has affected many parts of Europe and the wider world over the past few months. Secondly, we go to Germany, where an agreement has been signed with Nigeria to return to them the Benin bronzes, artifacts stolen in the 19th century that are amongst Africa's most culturally significant treasures. This will be the largest transfer of artifacts from a colonial context to date, covering 512 objects that ended up in Berlin in the early 20th century. The bronzes comprise of sculptures and plaques believed to have been created in the 13th century. The collection also includes a number of items made of other materials, such as ivory, coral, and wood. They were stolen by British soldiers in 1897 from the Kingdom of Benin, a wealthy power in southwest Nigeria. A number of African countries, including Nigeria itself, have fought for decades to recover them, as they were split up and sent to different parts of Europe and the United States. Now, finally, they're being returned. The treaty was signed between the Foundation of Prussian Cultural Heritage and Nigeria's National Commission for Museums and Monuments, the NCMM, in June, and the first artifacts are being returned in July and August from the Ethnological Museum in Berlin, with a third set being kept on loan for 10 years. Germany isn't the only country promising this. London's Horniman Museum said it would return 72 artifacts, including 12 brass plaques to Nigeria, following a similar move from a Paris museum and Cambridge University. NCMM's Abba Issa Tijani said, quote, "This represents the future concerning the artifacts issue. A future of collaboration among museums, a future of according respect and dignity to the legitimate requests of other nations and traditional institutions, and has urged other countries to follow suit." And German Commissioner for Culture and the Media Claudia Roth stated that, quote, "It was an example for museums in Germany with colonial-era collections, and that further agreements would follow in the coming months." French art historians estimate that 90% of Africa's cultural heritage is still in Europe, and the struggle has been drawn out to have these artifacts repatriated back as the legacy of colonialism continues to be discussed, and whether it is still appropriate for formal colonial powers to keep and display cultural treasures stolen in the past. Our third story takes us to Hong Kong, where a new cultural exhibit known as the Palace Museum opened last month, with over 900 cultural treasures being displayed on loan from the Palace Museum in Beijing, the biggest loan since the museum's opening in 1925. Spanning over 5,000 years of cultural history, the museum hosts a variety of extraordinary items from across ancient and medieval China, some of which have never been on public display before. Exhibits include bronzeware, embroidery, paintings, and even a white glazed ceramic pillow that dates back to the Song Dynasty, 960 to 1279 CE. So famous, in fact, that poems were written about it by the Emperor Qianlong, who reigned from 1711 to 1799. The museum has been heralded as Chinese culture's window on the world, and is shaped like an ancient square cauldron called a ding. The building that houses the exhibition was designed by award-winning architect Roko Yim. According to director Louis Engchiwa, the museum's intention is to help Chinese culture to go global, bridging the world's diverse civilizations in the process. The museum has the intention of staging a joint exhibition with European museums, featuring collections from the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, and Qing Dynasty, 1644 to 1912, as well as European royalty from 1300 to 1900. Eng has also shown interest in having other cultures such as Central Asian and Islamic artifacts shown too that have relevance to Chinese history, many of which aren't usually shown in China. The museum has proven extremely popular thus far, attracting large queues on the day it opened. One museum lover described it as, quote, "unforgettable to see the treasures in Hong Kong," adding he had visited the Palace Museum in Beijing many times before. And finally, we go to the National Geographic Museum in the United States, where they are celebrating 100 years of the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, with an exhibition that brings key artifacts to life for the digital age. The exhibition, called the Beyond King Tut Experience, uses cinematic storytelling and projection mapping to bring the new kingdom to life. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Tutankhamun, but to give a background, on the 4th of November 1922, an archaeological team led by Howard Carter excavated the tomb of the famous New Kingdom pharaoh who ruled from 1332 to 1323 BCE, leading to one of the richest tomb discoveries in the history of European archaeology, including a gorgeous golden burial mask that has become one of the great icons of ancient Egypt. This was groundbreaking world news, the first time in European archaeological history that an intact royal tomb had been discovered, complete with over 5,000 treasures. The story caused such a storm that a phenomenon known as King Tut mania took off in the 1920s, that saw a renewed fascination in ancient Egypt in the Western world. Turning now to the exhibition itself, it commemorates the find of the tomb, and is a broader celebration of ancient Egypt and the world of the famous boy king. Visitors start with the 1922 mission, exploring the find, the mania that followed, and also the somber reality of colonialism's role in Egyptian archaeology. Then follows a digitally and sonically immersive experience with a recreation of the tomb itself, Tutankhamun's family life, history, and even his favorite board game, the royal game of Senet. The experience finishes with a voyage into the afterlife, a 360-degree floor-to-ceiling experience, complete with mirrors, that visually places onlookers into the imagery, based on narratives of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. This is evidently an exciting time for the museum, with Catherine Keane, Vice President of Public Programming for the National Geographic Society, saying, quote, "This is obviously a story that we've been telling for 100 years at National Geographic. So the narrative we were pretty sure about and have a lot of research we've been doing over the years. So it was great to get experts in projection technology and media production involved in this story, bring it out of the pages of National Geographic magazine and into this immersive environment." What is also interesting about this exhibition is the relative lack of live artifacts present in the experience. The majority of artifacts are in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, although they are now being moved to the Grand Egyptian Museum near the Giza Pyramids that will open this year to mark the 100th anniversary of the tomb's opening. This is fascinating, as it shows how museums could continue to provide interesting experiences while still returning artifacts to their rightful owners. The exhibition runs in Washington until February 2023, and so at Power Station in Boston, Massachusetts until September. National Geographic are also marking the occasion with a documentary and magazine feature in November. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode of History Headlines. Thanks very much for listening, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Goodbye.